Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is a Red Pill Podcast 248, and I hope you all had an amazing week. And for those of you who celebrated, I hope you had an amazing holiday with your loved ones. And for those of you that are gearing up for New Year's Eve, any wolves out there that are planning to party, try to not get too frisky, okay? Have a good time, but don't go overboard, you know? Jokes aside, though, I had an amazing 2025 with all of you. I thought this was an incredibly transformational year. It was feeling like many curveballs were thrown our way, but ultimately it was always about how do you respond instead of how do you react. And I feel like everything we've gone through this year is very much setting the tone for the year ahead, where everything that you felt was challenging will definitely be put to the test in the following year. And that means it's important to set your intentions for what you will do rather than what you believe you'll do or what you think you'll do. You have to be confident in what's ahead. And I know that that's tough and sometimes easier said than done, but I believe this is the time to really lock in and get laser focused on what it is that you will accomplish next year. So I don't want to take up too much time in the intro today. We will be having our moon coming up leading into next Sunday's Red Pill, the wolf moon, the wolf full moon. So I'll be really looking forward to that, kind of kicking off the new year, new energy. And for now, we have a lot to cover because we're seeing this wild move in the silver chart, and I've gotten so many requests, so I've decided today I will be decoding silver and sharing my thoughts on what I'm anticipating ahead. Really quickly though, I also had a lot of requests from several members in our community to keep this holiday sale extended, so it will be active until New Year's. Just head over to watersabove.com/mmholiday and you'll land on this page. You could also find it in the pinned comment or the description below this video, and you'll also be able to find the promo code right over here. So I have this running for a little bit longer. Again, it's my biggest sale of the year. If you missed out on Black Friday, this is a really good opportunity because I will not be running another sale until likely Black Friday next year, and I'm not even sure if I'll do that. So again, I appreciate your support. Anyone who has picked up one of my masterminds, I know you're going to be met with many gems inside of those. It's my life's work in all of what I've covered, from the decoding mastermind to the crypto mastermind, and of course my expansion mastermind, which covers a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the live streams, which I did one yesterday, and it was pretty epic live stream. I got to admit, it was packed with moments where I was like, whoa, I need to listen back to some of that because that's material that could be shared with the world, you know, in a more systematized fashion. But let's keep going. Before we get started, make sure to get relaxed, get comfortable, grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea if it's a little earlier in the day, or a glass of wine or beer or any beverage of your choice if it's getting a little bit later out there in the Matrix. And also make sure to comment below this post here on Patreon to vote on the altcoins that you'd like me to cover in next week's Red Pill podcast. But before you leave a comment, please just make sure that I have not covered that project in at least 3 months. So in the event that it's been over 3 months since I've reviewed that altcoin, or if I've never reviewed that altcoin before, as long as it has at least one total year of chart history here on TradingView, you can go ahead and comment below with the name of that altcoin and the ticker symbol as well. And whatever submissions get the most likes, those top 4 will be selected for next week's Red Pill. So if you've been following along here at Waters Above in our mastermind community, even just a couple weeks, honestly, even if you just watched last week's Red Pill, you know that we've been focusing heavily on the number 47 and the 47 code and its mirror number of 74, because mirror numbers are always equally as important as above, so below. So we're going to quickly just recap the 47 connections. I'm not going to go too deep into them, but we've, again, done this enough to the point where it's kind of exhausting. But for those that are new here to our community, and also welcome if you're new, by the way, I'm just going to do this off the top of my head. We have Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States, this fine chap. And we also had a market crash into the 47 date, April 7th, 47, and that crash lasted 47 days, where the stock market topped initially on February 19th. So if you measure 47 days from February 19th, you get April 7th. That was your tariff crash, World War tariff. Bitcoin also crashed into that date as well, and it hit the price of 74K. And then it went on to recover from April 7th, the 47 day, for 47 days. And then it topped on April 22nd, I believe, and it hit a new all-time high on that day. Then it stalled out and it traded sideways for 47 days before hitting its next all-time high. There's been other 47 connections. Recently we had one, but I will be getting to that a little bit later, just so I could stay in a sequence for today's decode. Now, I've already mentioned to everyone earlier this year the connection to silver because it's the 47th element on the periodic table. Well, silver lately has been the talk of the town, and this past Friday, December 26th, silver hit 79 USD, so $79 per ounce for the first time ever. So let me just quickly show you. We have over here, when you look at, let me go to the weekly chart. So you're going to see over here O, H, L, and C. I just want you to stare at C. And then you're going to see it says $79.32. Okay. So we had our weekly close on Friday, December 26th. Silver hit $79 per ounce for the first time ever. It's a huge milestone. So keep that number in mind. And as mentioned just moments ago, silver is the 47th element in the periodic table, and it also has the atomic mass of 107. Now, 107 is the 28th prime number. So I want you to keep these two numbers in mind. We have the number 47, well, sorry, 1 second. We have the number 79. 47 just wants to keep surfacing because it's been the theme, but I want to take it slow here. We have two numbers for you to keep in mind, the number 79 and the number 28. So we got to 28 because it's the 107 connection, 28th prime number, silver, 107 atomic mass. So we have that number 28 hidden within all of this. And then we have the number 79, where we just had silver hitting 79 for the first time ever. And the reason these two numbers are important is because the date of December 26th, which I'm going to lock in over here, of this year, it actually ties to the date of June 14th of this year. And this is important because Donald Trump just turned 79 years old on June 14th. So this is Donald Trump's birthday. Again, we're talking about the 47th president of the United States, who's connected to this number 47 alongside silver, right? So when we consider the fact that he turned 79 on that day, and then you connect it to this particular date where silver hits $79 for the first time, these two dates happen to be 28 weeks apart. And if you remember what I was saying about silver being the 107 atomic mass, that is your 28th prime number. And here we are experiencing a dramatic surge into price discovery happening into this exact date with one of the biggest single week moves we've had in silver's history happening just into this date. So this is very important when you start to see these connections happening because it's telling you a story, okay? And since we're focused on the 47 connection, we can't forget that the last day of the year of the snake will be February 16th of 2026. that is the 47th day of 2026. So I want you to keep this in mind, because later on, we're going to come back to this idea of the month of February in 2026, which now we're getting very close to. So this is very, very important if you want to understand what's going on here in this move and what's coming next. So keep this in mind for the remainder of our decode. Now, with this surge deeper into price discovery for both silver and gold, the question, of course, is what's coming next for crypto? And again, it seems we're experiencing opposites this year compared to last year, where last year no one was really talking about precious metals as we were closing out the year, but instead all eyes were on crypto. And this year, of course, it's the opposite. Here we're gonna tie in our recent decode specifically for crypto, and we're gonna be circling back to the number 86. Since the current all-time high for Bitcoin was on the date of October 6th, 2025, October starts with the prefix octo, meaning 8 in Latin, like an octagon has 8 sides, making the esoteric date numerology for October 6th 86. It's the 86 code, which just so happens to be the day leaving 86 days left in the year. And interestingly enough, after Bitcoin topped on that 86 esoteric date, it then proceeded to crash for exactly 47 days into the 47th week of the year. And then it closed off that weekly candle during that exact week at 86K. And the reason I'm revisiting this is because tomorrow, which is going to be the 29th of December, will be an 86 double-digit date numerology. And this date naturally leads into December 30th, which you can see is 86 days after the 86 esoteric date. This is also the date that leaves 86 days left in the year. And this connection is actually very important, because if you see 86 days happens to be 2 months and 25 days, that's the 225 code. And that's the year we're in. We're in the 225 year when you utilize the rules of numerology and you remove the 0. So you have 225. So it feels like since October 6th, the crypto market has been ritualized with the event that was noticeable on October 10th. Okay, we all remember that day. Everybody who was in an active leverage trade got liquidated, and then they started coming up with a bunch of excuses as to why it happened. And then now a bunch of really smart people start to sort of decode what it was and why it's still affecting us to this day. So that date of October 10th is everything, even in the exoteric. And it seems like that was when the ritual really started. But it was off of this key date of October 6th, which is not so important in the grand scheme of things. We're looking at it now as sort of this major pivot date of energy, but it was really the 10th of October that created the chaos, right? Now, since early October, the crypto market has been ritualized, and I'm feeling this silver connection could be giving us some clues in the numbers, one of them being the number 107, which we were just covering, the atomic mass of silver. And if we measure 107 days from October 6th, you're going to see this actually lands us on January 20th. And the reason this is significant is because it'll be the 1-year anniversary of Trump's second inauguration, which was when Trump's meme coin was released along with Melania coin, and what we could all agree on being the last time that we tasted anything close to what you'd call a euphoria in the crypto market. Now, remember what I've been talking about a lot lately, how we're experiencing opposites. And this will be the energetic pivot of when there was no longer euphoria. After this date in 2025, the energy got severed and we effectively started moving down all the way until April. Okay? So this is very significant what I'm telling you about right now, because I believe we're just in the process of the late stages of that ritual, and we're just flipping over to another asset class to make it euphoric to finalize this ritual. Again, last year, it wasn't really the precious metal show. It was the crypto show. And here we are seeing the opposite, where it's now The least euphoric asset class ever is now becoming euphoric. Just think about this, guys. And remember, this was supposed to be the quote unquote crypto president. And I'm not throwing shade at Trump. This has nothing to do with him. He does what he's told to do. But it's just funny how they're using this guy. And for those of you that think he's in control of what's happening, like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but he's very far down the line of intelligence and decision making in what happens in our world. If you know the names of the people, therefore they are not in power. Power lies behind the curtain. It's in the shadows, okay? It's not a famous celebrity who once had a game show, effectively. Anyways, I don't want to make any jokes here, trying to stay on track, but it's funny to just laugh at people who honestly believe what they're seeing is reality when it's all just, it's Hollywood, okay? We want to talk about this 107 connection. This is massive, I feel. Consider that on this day last year, Solana hit an all-time high. And for those who remember, at that time, Solana was the talk of the town. And the reason I believe this connection is significant is because lately we've been experiencing the complete polar opposite sentiment that we were experiencing last year. I mean, how long has it been in extreme fear for the crypto market? I mean, it's now like 3 full months. This is pretty wild to see how there hasn't been even a relief rally lately, okay? We've been effectively just sideways. So, last year, we were incredibly bullish in March and April 2024. This year, we were crashing in March, April 2025. Then last year, starting in October all the way through New Year's, we were very bullish all the way up until Trump's inauguration. This year, it's been so far incredibly bearish during this time here in Q4, meaning the month of January essentially in 2026, and specifically this January 20th significant date, closes the loop. In my opinion, that date closes the loop on this. And then after working with the 107 number for some time, I started to notice, that 107 code is exactly what I've been keeping you guys aware of for the past 2 months. The date of January 7th. How many times have I spoke about this? How many times have you heard me bring up this date? And for those of you who are new here, or perhaps you forgot, even though I'm not sure how you could forget, because I've been talking about January 6th into January 7th for 2 months straight, nonstop, and everything I've released. But anyways, the way I was able to identify this date had to do with the number 47, the key code of our year. Again, we had Bitcoin hit an all-time high on October 6th, and then it crashed for 47 days into November 21st of this year. For 47 days into the 47th week of the year, which you can see right here. November 21st was within the 47th week of the year. Then if we move forward 47 days from November 21st, you're going to land on January 6th if you include the end date, or January 7th if you don't include the end date. However you want to slice it, it's a connection to the 47. And there is the exoteric 107 date. I just realized it today as I was making this decode. How many times have I brought up January 7th? It was right there in front of us all along. So another thing that's important to mention regarding my decoding system is this brings us full circle, because what is 4 times 7? 4 times 7 is 28. And where did we start earlier? We were talking about silver being the atomic mass of 107, and 107 is the 28th prime number. Again, 4 sevens is 28. So this number 28 has been walking alongside us this whole time. And I could go even deeper, but I'll spare you because we've already spent a lot of time on this January 7th date, but this gem that I'm dropping here today really solidifies the importance of this date for me. And I do think silver will be tied into this because of what I'm showing you. So those of you that are big on silver, I think January 7th is equally as important for silver as it is with Bitcoin and my crypto decodes. I believe this January, because of that other connection that I showed you with January 20th of 2026, the 1 year anniversary of the last time we had euphoria in the crypto market, January, the one that we're about to move into in a couple days, will be absolutely crucial for the next phase of this cycle. And the reason why has to do with the last time that we had silver breaking into price discovery. So let me quickly show you that. This is where today's decode gets very interesting. And I'm not going to concern myself too much with the price action that we're getting right now. I want us solely to really focus on the last time we had a crazy parabolic advance in silver. I should turn all this off, make it even easier for you guys. So the last time that we had silver breaking out into price discovery effectively started right here in Q4 of 1978. But the all-time highs for silver were officially in by January of 1979. So let me just quickly show you. We have January of 2026. We'll just copy the date for fun, 1979. And look at how many years apart that is. 47. And guess what price it hit for the first time ever when it was breaking out into price discovery right here? The price that it broke above was $6.80. So there's your 86 code, or the mirror number 68. And guess how many years ago January 1979 was? Well, you know now. 47 years. That is absolutely mind-blowing. And some of you might remember me actually showing you this years ago when people would ask me about silver and the fact that the last time silver went parabolic into 1980 was the blow-off top that ended at $47. Absolutely insane. Also, look at how it took another 31 years for it to get rejected effectively at the same price, again in 2011. And now finally here we are 47 years from when it started breaking out into price discovery in 1979. And here we are breaking out into price discovery again after a half a century long of sideways. The question is, will the rally keep going, or will we be effectively gassing out soon? Well, I can't say with certainty that what is to come next for silver necessarily, because it's now just finally breaking into price discovery after being essentially suppressed for almost half a century, and all the while the dollar has actually lost over 85% of its purchasing power during that same time horizon. So that means if you were to mark from over here, pretty much 1979 to where we are today, during that time the dollar, the world reserve currency, has lost 85% of its purchasing power. And by the way, it's kind of the cleanest dirty laundry in the basket. It's the cleanest dirty laundry in the hamper. So imagine what else everything else is going through. I mean, when you start studying other currency pairs, you notice this. So I mean, this actually makes what's happening in silver not as impressive. No offense. I'm not trying to be offensive, and I don't think holding silver is bad, obviously. I've never said that I think it's a bad investment. It's just when you consider what's going on here, the ritual that's been at play. I mean, a 50-year resistance finally breaking out, and during that time the dollar that we're basing this all on has lost 80+% of its purchasing power. I mean, it's clearly yeah, I'll let that fact speak for itself. Anyways, to make any concrete calls, I'd need more than just a red pill podcast to assess the situation here, but I will do my best for the rest of today's podcast to let you know where I stand on what's happening right now. So one thing I must admit, though, is when I'm seeing a 90 RSI, let me show you this. We're on the monthly chart. When I'm seeing over a 90 RSI on the monthly, it's telling me not to confidently expect us to keep going up in a straight line to, let's just say, like the $200 zone, like a lot of people have started to all of a sudden call for. I mean, sure, technically the macro 618 sits at around $240. That's the golden ratio right now. But that's another 200% away from here. And if we say this very carefully, if we are to repeat what happened in 1979 in the year of 2026, the year we're about to move into, and we get that 47 code to really play out, then sure, I could entertain a $200 silver, but, and this is a big but, if this move were to happen that quickly, which I am not personally calling for at this time, but if the move to 200 were to happen that quickly, like as soon as next year, then I'd personally expect it to turn out exactly like it did after this parabolic advance that finished in January 1980. Essentially a blow off top. I'm pretty firm on that. It's not to like break anyone's hearts. It's just this type of move can't just keep going and going and going. And when you start seeing people come out of the woodwork and getting very bullish all of a sudden on this particular asset, then you know it's because there's exhaustion, there's time capitulation at peak in crypto. Trust me. So, since we've never seen even $100 silver yet, I mean, next week it could be $100. That's the way things go. But since we've yet to see $100 silver, at least based in US dollars, then once it gets there, it'd be really interesting to see how the market reacts to it. Will it be a psychological level that the lizards use to play with us, or will it be a more esoteric number, like maybe some of you can guess where I'm going to go with this? How about $107? The atomic mass of silver, which would be so symbolic since, at least for now, the US dollar is the world reserve currency. So imagine it hitting that number, and then we have like a black swan event immediately after that. Like a digital twin towers ritual, you know what I'm saying? But what's important to mention about this is that I'm not making this a call, as this entire economy is so fake anyways. Of course we can have a $200 silver. Why not? Why not? It's all fake. Everything is based on whatever fairy dust logic word salad that they throw at us. So, and I say that with zero emotion. I'm just having fun here. Honestly, I think if you take this stuff too seriously, it'll like destroy you, you know? Anyways, one thing I want to point out that might actually be how this really goes, and keeping up with our theme of the number 47 and its mirror of 74, ties us back to an overlooked year in this conversation, and to me that is 1974. This is also when silver was on a tear. I mean, when you zoom out, holy moly, that was pretty gnarly, right? So when we look back at Q4 of 1973, we can see that's also when the breakout really started kicking off, just like here in 2025, moving into 2026. If you look at that compared to now. Just some food for thought. Funny enough, during that run was the first time that silver ever hit $4.70 per ounce, by the way. But that's just a side note. But it's funny that they do this. They're like, yeah, let's hit $4.70 in 1974. Fuck it. You know, like none of this matters. Literally, the banking families of the world are just playing with us. Like everything in this reality runs on gematria, numerology, and astrology. It's a meme to them. This is why they did 9/11 on the 9/11 date. The calling code's 9/11. They don't care. They literally do not care. So they're having fun with us with all of this stuff. That's why they made the first crazy all-time high $47. I bet no one even noticed back then this connection to the periodic table. This shit's existed for a long time. Way further than 1980. So anyways, again, we're just having fun here, but it's fun to point this stuff out, you know? So, one side note, the main thing I want us to focus on is silver topping in, or initially topping, let's be very clear here, initially topping in February of 1974. And remember what I told you earlier about, I want you to keep in mind February 2026 with the year of the horse. Okay, so this ties into our theme of the 74 and 47 code because we have silver topping initially at the start of 1974. And I believe we need to entertain something like this occurring in 2026, especially since we're already seeing similarities in the structure. And this scenario shows that $200 silver is, so listen very close, $200 silver is definitely in the cards. It's possible, but we would have a cool down phase in the midst of the chaos. So the move that we're making right now could be this. And then we have a little bit of relax. Okay? And then we make the big run after. Just listen. I actually personally believe that a cool down phase would not last as long as it did back then, by the way. This was, in my opinion, we would do it in half the time or quicker. Because I see everything accelerating now. So if you think we're going to have to live through this all over again, this really long, arduous side, no, I don't think so. We could do this in half the time or faster. Everything's accelerating now. So considering that silver topped in January 1980, right before, and some of you guys might get a little confused now, but we're going to start throwing back in the Chinese zodiac. We have silver topping in 1980 right before the year of the monkey, during the very end of the year of the goat. Then that puts us into January 2028 regarding these connections, as that would be the end of the year of the goat. So this is a significant time frame because after September 21st in 2028, we'll kick off the next Shemitah year. And I'm giving you information now that I could be like waiting to share with you fucking 6 months from now and it would still be early. Okay, so I'm spilling the beans crazy in advance. It's still 2025, guys. I'm giving you information about 2028 into 2029. So you know I'm a real one. Whenever I have something on my mind, I need to tell you. There's no gatekeeping here. Okay, so this connection I think is big regarding the end of the year of the goat. This significant time frame has to do with the next Shemitah year, and that will last all the way until Rosh Hashanah in 2029. So we have the year of the goat and Shemitah combo heading into the Sustainable Development Agenda in 2030. And by the way, we have to talk about that on another, that would require a whole separate podcast. But remember everything we spoke about earlier with the number 28. And since silver is the atomic mass of 107, that again is the 28th prime number and the 47th element on the periodic table. 4 times 7 equals 28. You know where I'm going with this. And now we're talking about the next sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, happening during the Gregorian year of 2028. The 28 code again, which aligns with the Hebrew year of 5,788, which becomes 28. It's perfect. Because obviously everyone wants a $200 silver like tomorrow, right? That's human nature. We're super fucking impatient and we're never grateful. I mean, I even saw this recently. I made a post over on Twitter, you know, just kind of having fun and sharing a fact about where XRP is at versus where silver's at. And the fact that they've both gained the same amount of percentage in the same exact time horizon, but one right now is down like 45 to 50%, and then the other one is in price discovery. It's way overheated on macro time frames, and simultaneously we have people lining up to buy it for the first time in their lives. It's in euphoria right now, okay? This isn't me saying that XRP is a better investment. It's just me trying to poke at the fact that retail is always very late and starts to FOMO. And then simultaneously, retail gets very discouraged and bored and just is never satisfied enough, even when XRP made a crazy move over the past 2.5 years. You know? You go back to where it was during C19, that shit was fucking 20 cents. How many years would you have had to wait to see that move in silver? I mean, a lifetime, you know, no offense. And then you wouldn't have had to sit through an 85% devaluation of the currency in the midst of it, you know? I mean, technically, I think since C19, we've had about a 30% inflation, which is dramatic. You know, it's horrible what we're seeing right now. But the point being is the time horizon, if you caught it when it was boring? Let's actually sit there for a second, because that's where the wisdom is. If you got in when this shit was boring, then you felt like you made the right move. When you get in when something is exciting, then what do you expect? So that's my point that I'm making with silver here, is it's very exciting right now. I didn't want to make people feel like it's a bad investment. It's just, why are you getting excited now? It's like, get excited when shit's boring. When it's fucking boring is when you buy. I'm sorry if I'm cursing too much. It's just like, I'm not scripted right now. I'm just sharing my, it's a stream of consciousness. All right. That's what you guys pay for. Anyways, everyone wants a $200 silver yesterday. The $100 silver is right up ahead, right? When it hits that psychological level, many would assume that we should hit that wall. But instead, imagine seeing it go past 105 and then it hits 107. Then many would assume we're going to go straight to 150 or even straight to 200. But then seeing it get rejected at 107 and coming back below 100, panic would kick in. And I'd assume that if it plays out that way, it'll actually unwind all the way back down to like the low 60s, maybe even the $50 zone again. This isn't me saying exactly how it's going to go, but I'm just sharing a thesis with you all. And then when everyone starts to expect it going much lower than 50, because that's what will happen when it gets there, just look at, I'd personally, I'll share my personal opinion on this. I'd personally just look at it like a healthy backtest of a literal half a fucking century's worth of resistance. I mean, I would get super bullish if I saw that move. If I saw silver get to 107 and then come back to 46 or, 49. Oh my God. I think that'd be the most bullish thing in history. Anyways, that would be that cool off phase that I'm telling you about. It could take all the way until 2028 to see the real crazy move. And if you're a precious metals investor holding silver, maybe you're getting upset right now at me sharing this theory because that means you have to wait longer for your $200 silver or whatever. But I'm just sharing a theory. Please realize it's just my theory. I'm simply sharing a scenario that could play out, and I'm just tying in key themes here regarding my decoding system. So lastly, I could even throw in one more element into all of this, which is tying it back to Jimmy Carter. Perhaps some of you remember right before Trump's second term, there was Jimmy Carter's funeral happening at pretty much the same time as the fires in Los Angeles, which is very interesting. Actually, it's crazy to think that he died literally this time last year. I believe he died on December 29th. And today is the 28th. But anyways, the reason I brought him up earlier this year in my decodes had to do with him becoming president during the year of the snake in 1977. I'll show you right here. So he became president in the year of the snake in 1977, and we're currently in the year of the snake in 2025. And how former President Barack Obama and George W. Bush both sat next to Donald Trump in the same row at Jimmy Carter's funeral. And all of them were presidents during the year of the snake, tied to a financial crisis, with George Bush during the dot-com bubble, which popped further after the 9/11 ritual in 2001. Then we had Barack Obama during the subprime mortgage crisis, the housing market crash in 2007 into 2008. He was president during the year of the snake in 2013, which also had a very long government shutdown. We talked about this too with Barack Obama, and that tied to the year of the snake with Donald Trump and us just experiencing the longest government shutdown. But then anyways, here we are in 2025, we have Donald Trump in the year of the snake, with his first presidency ending with the C-19 market crash followed by the global lockdowns, and now we're here experiencing his second term, which started with the tariff crash. And the reason I'm bringing up Jimmy Carter's funeral and this absolute gem of a connection is because Jimmy Carter's last year as president was during that crazy run-up in silver in the beginning of 1980. Homie ended his presidency with the most epic bull run of all time in silver. And here we are all these years later, and we're starting to see silver wake up. But then if we consider what year will be Trump's last year as president, as long as the laws stay the same way. Shit, who knows? We might get this guy for another 4. He's king, bro. Like, he might never fucking leave. Anyways, they're just having fun. But that last year as president on the books would be 2028. Again, returning back to our theme of the number 28 and the fact that this will be a Shemitah year, it means you know it will be important, just like the last Shemitah year was and all the ones before that. And guess what it was during January of 1980 when silver was completing its blow-off top back then? That's right, it was a Shemitah year during this whole move. Again, what actually runs these markets is gematria, numerology, and astrology. And I believe the Shemitah we're going to have in 2028 through 2029 is going to absolutely change everything. And that's what they're preparing us for. I'm almost certain of that, especially since it will be 1 century since 1929, the oh so popular Great Depression. And lastly, consider the key year during the Great Depression. It was 1933 when FDR became president. You had the New Deal. But more importantly, you had the U.S. moving off the gold standard and Executive Order 6102, if I remember correctly. The Great Gold Confiscation. What they called a mandatory government buyback, requiring U.S. citizens to surrender their privately held gold. And by the way, the deadline date for you turning in your gold was fucking May 1st. Literally the birthday of the Bavarian Illuminati. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And also, people that are out there that are like, well, the U.S. is the only country that did that. You guys are, that's a U.S. No, it's not. It's not, because 2 years earlier, 1931, this also happened in many places across Europe and also in the U.K. This shit happened. It was a test run in the U.K. before it was America. So don't even try. All right. And even after in 1936, it happened in France. So all economies were restructuring. Okay. And they used this tactic. They scammed humanity. So why am I bringing up 1933? You're like, why does this matter? Well, remember our theme of 47 years? What happens when you add 47 years to 1933? Ding, ding, ding. 1980. The end of the silver bull run and the start of an epic crash. 93%, guys, from the peak in 1980. 1933 was a restructure, scam humanity, get off the gold standard, give us back our shit. 47 years later, the only people who made out of this were probably the same people that you gave your shit to. And then they crashed it 90%. I don't trust this thing. I would never trust something like this. Okay? Again, but it's not even about like the trust or your opinions about politicians or anything. It's just we're in a world where all it takes is the majority to give in to the psychopathy of a cultural moment. Telling humans to give back their precious metals in 1933 is no different than locking down the world, telling everyone to wear a mask and you can't visit your grandma and to take a jab or else you lose your job. We just did that a couple years ago, guys. So the fact that people forget and they think these things are impossible to happen again, you need to realize this is why they're preparing us for the Aquarian economy, the technocratic wet dream of everything being on the blockchain. And the people out there that are falling for this whole Epstein created Bitcoin dumb shit, do you not study what Bitcoin was created to be? A public ledger. What idiot would use Bitcoin? I mean, you would use Monero or maybe Zcash or something, but what idiot would use Bitcoin? Now that's just stupid. Anyways, I'm not here to defend Bitcoin, but it's a much better alternative to having a bunch of physical stuff that you need to hope doesn't get taken from you and can get taken from you because it's happened before. And for you to sit here and take yourself seriously to say that the whole world not complying in a decision being made by a foreign entity that doesn't even have anything to do with your local government, hence the World Health Organization. Just get out of your emotions, and I think that's really important. I think that's the energy moving into 2026. Like, it's important that we all get out of our emotions, because the year ahead isn't going to care about your emotions. This year didn't care about your emotions, right? That's the real wolf inside of you. And I hope that this didn't bother anyone. I hope it doesn't trigger anything. I hope it just shows people where I'm at, the way I'm thinking of things. And by the way, I'm a gold investor, so I have a grip of gold. I told you, I put a portion of my net worth into gold right before the October 6th event in Israel. So I'm part of the conversation. Did I tell you I was selling my gold 4 or 5 months ago? No. I said I'm not selling. I don't care if gold fucking crashes 30%. I'm not going to sell. I have my own investment thesis, and you should too. So what I'm sharing about precious metals, please don't get discouraged. Realize that it's all part of the plan. These numbers and the code that runs this market should inspire us. It should make us feel like we have something in our tool box that very few people have. And that's what makes what we're doing here so beautiful. So this is more inspiration than it is to discourage. Now, to wrap up this decode, we must remember everything works in threes. So if it took 47 years from that scam executive order humanity let those lizards get away with in 1933, leading us to the blow-off top that silver and gold had in 1980, right over here, then naturally we would want to go ahead and add 47 years to 1980. And that lands us in 2027, which is very close, but that's not a year that we've been talking about. So that's where I'll actually pause for now, because I believe I can dive much deeper into the specifics here in my upcoming Year of the Horse Decoded, which I've released every year leading up to Chinese New Year. And since this Chinese year, we have the Lunar New Year on February 17th, I'll likely release that presentation at the very beginning of February, probably during the first week of February. So stay tuned for that, as it's my most anticipated decode of the year. Continuing our tradition, adding to my Chinese Zodiac series every year, going back to the Year of the Tiger in 2022. So I'm really looking forward to add to that series in just a little over a month from now, and with the new Year of the Horse Decoded. And also, just since I brought up the month of February, and perhaps some of you tune into my live streams, perhaps you watched my live stream yesterday, you might have heard me mention that likely starting on February 1st, this mastermind community Patreon membership here will be going up in price. For the first time in almost 5 years of doing this, I'm finally making this decision, as I've committed so much of my time and energy to ensuring that I can provide everyone here with the most unique outlook on the markets at the best quality I can offer 4 times a month, with full-length video podcasts every single week for almost 250 weeks straight without missing a single week in between. I feel like it's time for me to align with how I value myself. But the very, very good news is, if you keep your current membership here, as long as your membership is active, you'll be locked in at this current price. So to set the record straight, for those who got confused about what I said in yesterday's live stream, I am not charging anyone here more for their membership. Your current membership will not change at all. I can promise you that. It's just starting February 1st, any new members will see the new price displayed for this mastermind community. But again, this will not affect any of my current supporters who keep their membership active. And I'll of course make an official announcement about this later next month, but before I implement any changes in real time. But for now, I just wanted to give you all that reassurance that I am so grateful for your support, truly, and I'd never think to increase your membership cost if you're already here committed to supporting me. And I want you to know your support means the world to me, seriously. And I have some really exciting news coming in 2026, which I'll be sharing with you all likely in a week or so. But in the meantime, let's pivot over to these charts, do some more traditional technical analysis on the markets we're experiencing so that we can prepare ourselves for the week ahead, with that yearly candle close just a couple days away on Wednesday night. And I actually just want to quickly look at where are we at on the yearly candles. Like we have a 168% gain. Oh my God. And it's so funny, if we were to come down just one more dollar and close off the year at 76, we will have a $47 gain on the year. That's pretty crazy. Right now we're up $48 on the year. So wouldn't shock me, but this is clearly a very bullish move. Um wow. Crazy move for silver, and it all just kind of suddenly happened once the crypto market started to like seemingly get boring and very unsafe. And I get that, I totally feel that, and we've been here before. I actually remember a similar thing sort of happening in 2020, which again, I've already talked about all the parallels that I see between the two. Now, one thing to mention though is this: what is the yearly RSI? We're at 84, man. That's fucking high. So of course, this can get silly. I mean, we've gotten to 90 in the past, and during this crazy move, yeah, I mean, we can definitely have that final hoorah next year. But I'm starting to feel that we're gonna get, I don't want to like commit too much to this rotation idea because a lot of people don't understand the nuances of it, but I think we're going to have like a sentiment rotation where we already had like the sentiment absolutely drained from crypto, and now precious metals are getting their time to shine, and I think we're going to see that quote unquote rotation happening. But that's not me being like a permable. I just really feel like the run for Bitcoin's not over because we're still in Satoshi's Jubilee. So that's what always made this year very strange. And when you also consider where we're at with the solar and the lunar cycle, and how our lunar cycle should effectively be wrapping up in early March, that means we're completing a very short lunar cycle. And we've done this already back in 2019, technically. And what happened into the summer of 2019 was fucking epic. So if we repeat that, that means that July into August can be insanely bullish for crypto. So um, I'm not calling for any like quote unquote alt season vibes necessarily, because we would need other factors, and we will track this as we go, of course, because I'm not going anywhere. 2026, I'm locked in. We will, of course, continue doing these Red Pill podcasts. Mastermind community ain't going nowhere, but I don't want to make any calls too early on that because some people might hear what I'm saying about July, August, and assume that's where we're going to get these crazy alt season. But we need to take things one step at a time until Bitcoin dominance starts showing true weakness and we start seeing USDT dominance, USDC dominance, and everything adjust. I mean, can't be making that call. Clearly, Bitcoin has done some weird stuff this year, and getting too overly confident on those expectations could harm us. But when we get such a major move, injection of liquidity into silver and gold, this has to go somewhere, guys. And I don't think it's going to go into the stock market because the stock market's already at all-time highs. So stock market's euphoric already. Precious metals are also euphoric. It's going down the risk curve, and I think this is coming next for crypto. So that's my take for right now on the silver play. Gold. Let me see. Turn off all this noise. $70 on 71%, sorry, $1,800 up on the year. That's unbelievable. Also at 90 RSI on the yearly candles. Holy shit. That's excessive. That when you zoom out of this, oh my god, when you zoom out of the gold chart, it just looks unbelievable. Holy shit. Look at this move here from 2001 to 2011. Keep in mind, guys, that was at the end of the dot-com bubble. So the dot-com bubble bursts, and then people get scared as shit, and then smart money moves over to less risky, weird stuff. And just look at that. This is yearly candles. This had one. I mean, is that 12 yearly candles? 12 straight 12-month candles. That's what happens in a world where like people lose trust in the speculative shit. And now we're approaching from 2016, we're kind of in a repeat in many ways of this just perpetual bullish gold price action, which is exciting to see, man. I mean, I hold gold, so this is great. But yeah, this is not sustainable. Like, it's obvious this is not sustainable in my opinion. I'll be honest with you all. I mean, this pattern here that we've had. I'll quickly look at the W. Sorry. I don't like doing it this way. I do it usually with area. Yeah, like we're getting to the end of this. I think this is a little dramatic, okay? It's a little dramatic, this move up. And I had over here this corrective, full correction target buying zone, and it's set for sometime in summer of 2026. And to me, that would align with the second solar eclipse of the solar cycle, or the first official solar eclipse of the solar cycle, this one over here on August 12th. But I will be revisiting this. Just for now, we're in price discovery, so 4,700, of course, is my natural go-to target for the 47 code. Let's get over to Bitcoin. Crypto's boring right now, isn't it? But this pattern that I had drawn out is looking really nice. So you guys probably remember this. Where did my chart go? Where did my chart go? Where did my chart go? Oh, okay. Well, this is good to see. We have a clear resistance that we're finally starting to break free from. It's not 100% confirmed, but where's the chart? This is usually I'm really good at knowing where there's just too many charts lately. You know what I'm saying? But there's one really interesting chart that we've been tracking lately. Well, like they say, when man makes plans, God laughs. So that's what's happening now. I can't find the chart. Unless it's maybe over here. Also, I hope you guys are having an amazing weekend. All right, it's okay. Can't find it right now. But effectively, playing out this fractal that I have overlaid here, it just doesn't look so nice with this color gradient, but I've just matched up where the date of this high was right over during Trump's inauguration with where the lows were recently, and it's kind of showing us that after New Year's we get a release. And that would of course be epic, and it does push us into late January, into early February. That would also not be weird. But I'm still kind of feeling uneasy about the next month because January is that wild card, as I've already gone through with you many, many times. But yeah, the move up into January 5th, January 6th would be great if we can get Bitcoin back up there. Who wouldn't be happy? Let's quickly look at where our moving averages are. I don't want to really even spend too much time on Bitcoin because I feel like the whole theme of today was more the precious metals and more the philosophy and the... Okay. I didn't want to cough into the camera. One second, I just have to quickly take a sip of water because my throat's getting a little dry. Alrighty. Where are we at? Test. I am good. Beautiful. Okay, so we have the 21 weekly. You all probably know about this. When we start breaking below the 50, I use the 55 week moving average, but when we start breaking below the 55, it's very normal for us to come back to it. So it sits a little above the 21, and I would look at both of those as like a comp or like a magnet, like getting gravitated back to them. That'd be a great de-risking area. And ultimately what I suspect is going to happen is there could be a little bit of like last minute tax loss harvesting at this time. But then once we get into January 1st, I think this is just it's going to gravitate back to those moving averages. This isn't any like wizardry that I'm doing right now. This is just kind of the natural behavior of Bitcoin when it starts getting below these critical moving averages and when you see these major crosses. So we have the yellow below the white moving average. That's the 8 below the 55. That's a wolf cross. And this is the first time that we've gotten a wolf cross the entire cycle. Good news is, though, is that there's no technical rule here, okay? It's just the theme that we see in Bitcoin. But we've also had a lot of rules broken this particular year. One of them being we didn't get an alt season, which we've seen every single time. And when we look back at when we typically get an alt season, it has to do with liquidity. And we know that's coming. And then also we know that Fed Chair Powell's last days in the throne are going to be in May. And that would not shock me if they kind of use that as the initial launch pad, let's just say, from perhaps an event that happens in April or May they use his transition to get everyone bullish again into the summertime next year. Just some food for thought again. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that. And this J curve that we have, which started from January in the new year all the way up till the summertime, you could see right there into basically the end of June. That could kind of be the play. But if it was to be that extreme, then that means Bitcoin would hit a new all-time high. And if Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, then my scenario number 2 is what's in play. And that's why I made scenario number 1 first, because scenario number 1 is 47 days of sideways between 80K to 100K. And we could very well hit that 100K wall by January 7th. But then that's the transition to see, do we go into scenario number 2 or scenario number 3? And scenario number 2 is the idea that everyone is wrong. And when I say everyone, I'm talking about like the influencers. So all the people that were thinking we're just going to drop lower in the short term, they would be wrong. All the people building up the shorts, believing that that would be the case, get liquidated. And then everyone who thinks that we can't make an all-time high, they would be wrong. And then everyone who tried playing this like relief rally shit would also start FOMOing back in at the top. But then also there's a huge like 1, 2, 3 punch that scenario number 2 gives us, which is then it would have the alt season vibe, and that would really make everyone feel wrong because of how depressing alts have been for pretty much the entire year. So it's not going to go exactly perfectly that way, and I will refine as time goes, and it's necessary for me to refine anyways, like starting next week, because well, we've had our 47 days of sideways, right? Like, so we had what we were expecting come to fruition. Check. Now we're going to see how the idea of getting above 100 plays out, because if everyone starts expecting relief rally and then we start getting it, everyone's going to think they're a genius by de-risking. But Bitcoin loves to kind of really make you feel the pain, so it would not be weird for me if we go a little higher than expected and then we get rejected, and when we go down, we actually don't go lower. So scenario number 2 is coming back to like, 89, kind of where we are right now, maybe like even 93 in a very bullish back test. And then everyone starts expecting, well, bear market has to come now, but it doesn't. And then the new all-time high comes. So it's a mixture. It's a move up to this zone over here, come back down to effectively where we are, and then back up higher, maybe 130. That would fuck everyone up. So then after 130, who cares if we get a bear market? It would just, everyone would be so flushed and the market maker will accomplish what they wanted, So that to me feels like a way to really just strangle everyone. And the market maker loves to slow choke you, So I like scenario number 2 a lot because it's one of those that I wouldn't have entertained in the last cycle. In the last cycle, I would have been much more on the extremes of things. But this cycle, Bitcoin has been looking incredible. Just zoom out, just zoom out. Look at how much higher we are than the prior double top. Look at us spending like 9 months on top of the double top, building support on top of it. I mean, what's bearish about this? So the only time you could get bearish is if you look too closely to price. And I think one of the things that everyone could do to level up more as investors is stop looking at, I think price fucks us up, if I had to be honest. If there's any teaching wisdom I could give into the future, it's price doesn't actually matter as much as feelings. So it's all sentiment. And of course, price will make feelings adjust quite dramatically. But the bigger thing is like, what is the overall consensus and what could the market maker do to invalidate everybody's beliefs, And that's always why cycles end a little differently. Like this cycle into its bear market was not the same as this cycle into its bear market. This cycle had a double peak process. And then we saw this happen in this cycle, but for XRP. XRP, I mean, I technically think it was really around here, but yeah, kind of, it was, right? Like it launched, I think in, I want to say 20, it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The point that I'm making here is this kind of like double move that we got in 2013 and 2014, or into 2014, when we look at XRP, that move is what came in this cycle in 2017 into the start of 2018, right? So yeah. Then we've had this very interesting like no new all-time high thing happened and a rejection. And now we're back up and we're back testing the prior rejection points. So we have our clear blow of top rejection over here in the last cycle. This is where we got rejected and we went into a bear market. And now we've spent one full year trading on top of what we used to get rejected at. And now everyone's fucking bearish. I mean, I feel like I'm in like the twilight zone, right? And I'm not even like the XRP army guy. And you're hearing that from me. So like, it's like people just don't know TA, I think. And then also people get too frothy about like past cycles and they put too much of their like life force energy into it. And that's where I've been lately, trying to like protect my prana, work on things that I think serve humanity better. And like with crypto and investing, I'm trying to navigate it without it like ruining my mental health, you know? And I suspect maybe some of you appreciate the way I handle things. Anyways, let's move into ETH. I would love to see ETH close out the year at 3K or a little bit higher. We're still playing out this inverse head and shoulders vibe, although it would take a little bit more time. You can see that like when we had the really noticeably bearish phase to when it became bullish again, it took about 63 days. Over here, 63 days now brings us to the end of January. So that does not shock me if we're to see that same time horizon play out, where you have effectively 98 days bringing you into late February, right there around eclipse season, February 16th through March 3rd. So do we get something like that where we repeat this move and then we also get another really big correction into March, April? I mean, that would be too predictable. I would say if it were to happen, it would be like a month later. But with the way Bitcoin dominance can start rapidly unraveling, then that means March and April could actually be quite bullish for altcoins given that setup. So it doesn't need to be like everything free falling simultaneously. So just keep that in mind, and we'll get back to that another time. Talk about that more. All right, XRP now has been perpetually on like a sell-off for 160 something days, 24 weeks straight. That's a long time. But is that weird? Nope, because this thing will make major moves and then it'll get very boring. So I'm actually seeing a similarity right here where we have a major move up, but it's resistance. And then we have this wolf cross on the weekly and we just perpetually sell off. How long did this last? 17 weeks. How long did the full move last? This took about 30. This isn't a perfect science. That's not my point here. But that's literally how it could go. And then once we get that quote unquote alt rotation, which could be just one of these, it could be one of these right there. We saw some crazy shit when Bitcoin dominance dropped only 10% in a couple weeks. We saw every altcoin do some insane stuff. I mean, let's go back to November for Doge. So that's November, December. This is October into 7 weeks, 347%. And this is like a top altcoin, by the way. So we saw what XRP did during this time. I mean, we don't have to 600%. So that's kind of like the feeling that I'm getting is we're just in one of these arduous drawdowns, which feels super uncomfortable. There's a lot of time capitulation. People are like, why the hell did I invest in this stuff? And it gets like that, guys. Look at how boring and like horrible this experience was until it wasn't. Well, let's go back in time. This wasn't the first where we just have, and this isn't the full chart. Let me show you the full chart. It's been a little bit longer lately, but the point still remains that this just went on and on and on for 200 fucking days until out of nowhere, boom. And I mean, when it popped, it went up 1,500%, 28 days. So this asset, even back in the day when like crypto was way more exciting and way more volatile, like you can have these really long periods of time just being like, when is this thing going to move? Look at this. Same. Same, just boring and selling off slowly, little by little by little until it just pops. And this asset is known to do that, man. It's precisely what we saw at the end of the summer in 2024, and even technically into the election. And once we had a quote unquote like narrative, that was all it needed. But it was building up. It was building up, and I think until we get through this new year, yeah, all altcoins are going to do this, and I think it could even take until January 15th, in my opinion, for a lot of altcoins because of Bitcoin dominance. And if Bitcoin rallies into 100 to like 103K in the first couple weeks of January or during the month of January, we can still see alts underperforming and not looking so exciting. So keep that in mind, okay? And let's get through this week. I think we'll have a very clear outlook on everything once we get through New Year's to do some more extensive analysis. All right, so we have a project that I haven't looked at in some time, but was also one of those talks of the town, and it's Caspa. Okay, so yes, I was right about Caspa that I was not gonna touch it, and I learned about it late, but when I started really heavily talking about it because you guys were voting on it in our community, it was back in October-ish, like this kind of like 2023 timeframe. And sure, it did go up another 345%, but that right there, the final move up, is where it gets very tough to know when to take profits. Luckily enough, I used my fibs and I marked off the 4236 to 4618 up to the 6 spot fib extension, and I started, I mean, you can go back and listen to how I felt about Caspa and you'll know. But we made it there. We swiped down through this key level right here around 10 cents, came right back to the 1618, and then when we couldn't hold that, oof, this is not good. I'm going to show you why. Let me turn off the moving averages. Okay, here you see a bullish W, but what happened was this marks a major support. And when your major support gets broken through, which was the October 10th, that fucker got us. This thing came back up to the level and it got rejected. A lot of things lately have done this. So, of course, there's an opportunity to do something like this, but that marks the key level and it's the golden ratio. So you want to keep an eye on 6 cents if you invest in Caspa and you've yet to de-risk. The problem here is, though, is that there's really thin air all the way back to the whole thing. This thing could go all the way back to here. And for the people that are like, no, it can't, like, okay, what's Trump coin doing? I haven't looked at this shit in a long time. Okay. Yeah, okay. It could go back to 7. No, it can't. It could go back to 5. No, it can't. It's at fucking 4 now, okay? This whole candle was 1 day of price action. 2 days before this fucking guy got inaugurated. It went to 70. Did it go to 4? It went to $47. Yeah, it went to $74. Yeah, I love it. I love this guy. And now it's down 93%. Okay, so like in 1 year, that was also what a lot of people felt. Like, oh, it can never go back. Oh, it can never go back. Okay, well, yes, it could fill this down to nothing. Who cares? Okay, Caspa's the same way. They have a community, and as long as the community is gonna hold, is the best it will ever be. But Hex was in a similar spot in the last cycle, like the 2020, 2021 cycle. They did amazing, right? Like absolutely slayed it. But then since it's been, what is Hex doing? No offense, you right? Like this isn't to point out like, it's just that's the only thing that allows for these sorts of moves to happen. And then once it fizzles away, it could just be on a perpetual sell-off because there's no fucking support in this chart. It's just, it had a fun time and now dad is going back home, like vacation's over. There's no volume here anywhere. I could Promise you that. Okay? This is the VPVR right now. VRVP, apologies. Yeah, it's not available in this chart, unfortunately. But yeah, there's nothing here holding this thing up. So where it is right now is actually at a very tight cluster of when it had a substantial amount of volume built. But unfortunately, if it cannot hold 3 cents and it starts sliding below 3, this thing will fill this whole wick all the way down. And then I don't even see a cent holding. So that's my way of saying that if we get a relief rally and you're back into paradise, fucking retire in paradise, okay? This whole like expecting what once was to always be is, sorry, but it doesn't work that way, okay? And I have people that have been asking me about Caspa for 3 years now. Past 2 years I've been basically having to say the same thing over and over again, which is if you were in this thing down here, you must leave the gambling casino, please. And there's a couple of people that hated me whenever I would say that. So whatever, man. I did my part. When I look at a chart like this, I don't get excited. I just think, how can I get out? How can I get out? How can I get out? And that's every altcoin I personally hold. I feel the same way, except for a couple. Like XRP is one of those that I don't feel that way about personally. I'm not part of the XRP cult. It's just I have my own take on it and the research. But I've been actively trading XRP, meaning I've been de-risking and profiting on it since I got in. So there's nothing wrong with taking profits, you know? And this was a rare example of something that had an amazing run. I mean, geez, man, fucking 60, 50,000% from launch. You have to know when enough is enough. So, I mean, right now off of this major level, which it hit 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 6 times across the time horizon of one full year, I would say that that's an ironclad support. Now it's already down 76%. The full move down is 80. That's a normal bear market, but for altcoins, we've seen 98% no problem. You think that's weird? Look at what Solana did, which was one of the best performing altcoins in the last cycle and has also been, see that, 97%, but it was also one of the best performing projects in our recent cycle. I mean, it's rare to see a top project get 2000% gains. This is very impressive, okay? And it's still, look at this. Doesn't this look like the Caspa chart where it just went up perpetually? Well, this thing lost 97% of its value. So for Caspa to do a similar move, we're talking back into that range, 0.005 cents. So be careful, guys. Be very, very careful. Would I like to see this thing break above 20 cents and every Caspa holder becomes a gazillionaire? Of course. Of course I would want that for you. I want all of you to succeed. But you must live in reality. Okay, now we're looking at Toshi. Okay, so I've done this project before. I don't remember this. But damn, that trend line is powerful, okay? Because we have a key support, and then it broke. And now it's pretty much back to what I believe is an incredibly strong area. So when we look at this chart, this has way more trading volume on this horizontal trading range than Caspa does. This looks good until it breaks below here. If it breaks below here, then it's free falling all the way down to, I don't even know, 100 zeros. That's what you have to watch for. And why not lose another 60%? That's normal. I mean, a Bitcoin dropped into the 70s. This thing will go all the way down to here. So that's what we're working with. Clearly a huge spike into January with a rejection off of a key level. And now what I would think about is, depending on how this moves into 2026, if we are to get a major rotation in alts, there's a high possibility that this could actually swipe up into the 1618 still. And that would be glorious, of course. And I wouldn't even be shocked about the July timeframe. Again, like, I'm keeping my mind very open to July. I just want to see, of course, how does February go with our initial eclipse season. So that would be, yeah, because this is very strong to me. Like, I mean, we're off of how many 600. It's almost 2 years now. We filled out this trading range enough. It's not been on this like perpetual up, 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 up. It's built a lot of strength here. This is a fair price for this meme or whatever it is. And yeah, if I just take away the fact that it's a meme and I look at it for what it is on the chart, I would be more comfortable in this than Caspa, personally. But Caspa is probably a more sound investment. It probably has a more interesting community as well. Like, I don't know, nor do I care. But needless to say, like, this chart is a little bit more attractive to me, and I would be personally looking that this holds right around here. So it could have a little bit more to give, but it's effectively done what it needed to do. The reason why is because this first initial surge up and then a lot of friction here. Again, friction, couple rejections. And it's just seeming to like this particular price a lot where we're trading at. So I don't know if we need to go much more lower. I think it's done. And I think a lot of altcoins are the same situation. They don't really need to go too much lower. This is good enough. Until we get Bitcoin, of course. If Bitcoin slides below 70, or if Bitcoin slides below 80K, then that invalidates everything I'm saying right now. Then, of course, we can get much, much more disturbing prices. But I'm optimistic right now just because of how bearish everything's been, how poor the sentiment's been. All right, I haven't looked at this chart in some time, but I see I have a little Wyckoff going on. What's going on here? I love when I do Wyckoff analysis because I'm like, this is my bread and butter. This is my favorite. Oh shit. Ain't this pretty? All right, I think the creek is closing up. So this is good. Falling out of the creek into the spring, I mean, it's not as accurate because you do have, but it's an altcoin, so you have to realize that. Hmm. I feel like this is close because I do like the 382, but it's always important to look at where was it last trading. So it was here before a major pivot. We've come right back to it. Here we've got a couple of major rejections right around a similar level, but we're back testing them. So this is an area that it's spent some time with before, around $1.30. Not weird for render. It's gotten around 120 many times. And although this does look like distribution at the time, and I mean, when you look back at how long it's been since this, it's been almost 2 years of just perpetually selling off. But that's why Wyckoff is so powerful because it could give you longer time horizons. And this tells me that we're close. We're very close to a pivot here if this schematic were to play out. Not getting to the 1618 is hopeful. So what's cool about this is that means if we are to break into price discovery, this type of price is in the cards, man. Around 30 bucks. I mean, I have a lot of levels marked here, just like green means go, orange is like start to worry, red is like get the fuck out, you know? So I don't know if it can make it all the way up to 74. Funny price. Do I have anything for render on Gematria? Is it this ticker? I think it's not it doesn't have a ticker. But I haven't done a decode on this. I just remember seeing this pattern and then I threw on the Wyckoff and I was like, I think there's something, I think we got something here. It feels to me like it's mimicking in so many ways, although yeah, the buying climax, it would technically be matching more over here. But crypto does this, man. Solana did this shit where if you remember the Solana chart, it hit an all-time high, it crashed, and then once it recovered, it never had a spring. It didn't have a double bottom. It just fucking recovered and then basically went back to new all-time highs. So the render chart to me looks very similar to the way that the Solana chart looks. So you see it just ripped the band-aid off and then it was like buy me, and then it went up all the way back to new all-time highs. That's not how the ETH chart looked, really. That's not how many looked. Many are still like trading around the 236, but it seems like there's a similarity here with the render chart. Very, very, very similar. So I like this chart. I don't love the Solana chart just because for me, it's like there's a little bit more ROI in it than, of course, like Ethereum. But I still feel like there's a much stronger community and everything going on with XRP. I think XRP is not done fulfilling its final move. So that's kind of my play there. But yes, still, like this render chart looks good. I would even think about investing in this, a little venture capital position. So we're talking like less than 2% of my overall portfolio. All right, let's finish this up with OX protocol. All right, so we're looking at a much different thing. We're looking at a project that's effectively back at its launch. If this is when, oh, fuck. Is that 2017? Mama me. Okay, so like for example, Bitcoin, and I always have to do this because it's important. Bitcoin was 19,000 over here. Then Bitcoin went to 69,000 over here. And then right now Bitcoin's 89,000, but this thing's down where it was when Bitcoin was like probably $3,000 or something. So this is where altcoins are tricky. You know, you really need to look at them like a trading opportunity, not a hodling opportunity. It's very rare that any altcoin has proven itself to be just a buy and hold, you know? And I think this cycle really, really taught us that without having a rotation yet. So yes, when you're in altcoins during an alt season, like when the alt Bitcoin dominance effectively is rolling over, you feel like a fucking genius. But when you're not in that mode, which is most of the time, you feel like Bitcoin is your arch nemesis, you know? And that's why if you go back to the genesis of my crypto mastermind course, I teach, what is it, 60% of your portfolio should be in Bitcoin. If anyone just followed those principles going back to 2021, you wouldn't be fucking dealing with this. You know, is Bitcoin the main investment that I'm always like FOMOing into? No. But I bought effectively the 20K to 30K range in this recent cycle. And I have a full coin that was accumulated below 10K in the cycle before this. So yeah, I don't have to feel so much pain here. And I've went through this recently where I had to explain people that have brought up like, you have some positions at a loss, and it's like, yeah, but they're all venture capital. They're all only making up about 20 to 25% of my portfolio in totality. So if 25% of my portfolio goes to zero, but then the other 75% has been outperforming the S&P and precious metals combined, who gives a fuck, you know? So that's the thing, but nobody wants to actually implement the entirety of the protocol. They don't actually want to look at it for what it is. They only want to get in super speculative stuff and then make those huge bets and then assume, you know, it's all going to be perfect. And the one thing you need to do is, even though you have an outlook about where you're going, don't not bring an umbrella or a raincoat just because the place you're going has been sold onto you as a paradise, okay? Because if you realize when you go to tropical places, you go to places that are like marketed as paradise, when it rains there, it's fucked up tropical storms. I mean, it's really not fun. You see my analogy here? So like that's what altcoins are. They're like, they have their moment where they're really, and many moments. I mean, look at this thing. Looks like a fucking lie detector test. There's been so many. Look at this. I mean, damn, 700% in just a couple months right here. 600% in just a couple months right here. Even recently, I mean, this is 2023. That's dope. Right there to 300% in 2 months. I mean, these are crazy moves, right? So there's always a chance, but you have to trade them. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap up today, because as for where this is, I mean, it's entering price discovery to the downside. So this thing could go and slide into the abyss. I mean, why not? So be careful, man. And if there's a relief rally in this stuff, be willing to de-risk and wait and see how some of this new regulations go in 2026 and new Fed chair and just like new market hypnotists joining joining the narratives, that might be appropriate because a lot of this stuff has proven that it's just speculative fairy dust that pumps and dumps. And you want to be very careful if you're one of those people that like you can't afford to lose. And what would be better is for you to invest in yourself. Honestly, I've been saying the same thing for 4 years now, but there's not much TA you can do on a project that's currently at the lows of 2017, right? So just look for horizontal levels, know when to de-risk. For me, around 39 cents is key, but we could swipe all the way back up to 80 cents. It's done it before from the same exact price. You could see it right here. In just 4 months, it went from the exact price we're trading at now. Of course, it had some chop, but then it ultimately reached its destination, getting through almost $1. That could happen again. It happened just last year, this time of year last year. It was around, what is that? 90 cents. Okay. So this is an opportunity to de-risk. Don't expect these things to just go into crazy parabolic alt season vibes because it's probably not happening. It's been my same thing I've been saying about all the charts that look like this for all of my what I'm investing in specials. Rarely do I say, oh, I'm expecting this to go into price discovery. So let's wrap this one up here. Bitcoin around 89K, nothing too crazy. We've seen Bitcoin plenty times last week and the week before, getting up to 90, getting rejected, getting to 93, getting rejected pretty much all month. And if this fractal were to play out, it shows us that we do have 100K coming in as early as January 6th. We do have another run up potentially in February, kind of another fake out. And this again is what everyone is expecting. So I am not anticipating this to happen, but the market maker is going to give you a little bit of what you expect and then a lot of bit of what you don't. So I have shared everything I possibly could in today's podcast, covering all of my thoughts with where we're at, what I'm expecting next, and how silver plays into it. I hope you all enjoyed my silver decode. It's been a while since I've done one. And for everyone else, I'm just super grateful for all of your support. I'm really looking forward to moving into the year of 2026 together. And like I said, for the next couple days, I have this holiday sale that will be going on until New Year's. Make sure to click the link in the description below or in the pinned comment. It'll take you to this special page because it is not the public page. This one has a special promo code that gives you an even bigger discount. And once this one's over, I will likely not be doing one all the way for another year. So this is the final chance to take advantage of this sale and pick up one of these masterminds because they're absolutely packed with value. Life-changing stuff in some of them. So I appreciate and I'm grateful for all of your support. I'm wishing you all an amazing rest of your day in the Matrix. Much love.